It's wild to know how young you were when you got into the industry.
You're also expected to be an adult at 8 years old. I felt like I had to grow up really fast. It's really strange. A lot of times on social media, just reading comments and, all those things get really stunted me for a while.
You've done a lot of musical, dance, singing roles. Is there a Disney princess that you would want to maybe play in a movie? What is up, Brenner Gang? Welcome back to Post Run High. Today, I'm here with Meg Donnelly. Meg and I just ran a couple blocks, probably almost a mile. If we look oily, it's because we just ran. So,
Keep that in mind.
How are you feeling post-run?
Good. I feel really good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really didn't think I was gonna last that long. I had to walk a couple of times, not gonna lie. I didn't know what to expect, but I'm happy that I made it. I didn't pass out.
Yeah, it's always a funny icebreaker, starting with the run.
Yeah.
And I love asking people in the beginning of my interviews about kind of what they do for working out. And we talked about it a little bit on the run, but break it down for us. Are you an active person? Do you like working out?
It's definitely important for me. I think it's taken a while to figure out what I like to do because I love dancing so much. So that's a really easy workout because you're just working everything out, but while dancing, and it's just a really fun activity to do. I've tried doing Pilates and hot yoga and hot sculpt, all that stuff. Really hard. So the heated room stuff is really hard for me, but I've been trying because my best friend does it a lot. But it's mostly dance, I would say. And nice walks and hikes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get into running because my dad, I think I said this before too, but my dad has been running for he hasn't missed a day in 30 years. And he's ran so many marathons. And so it's definitely in my blood somewhere, hasn't reached yet. But I'm trying to do a mile at a time.
I like that.
Yeah.
No, I feel like dance, as you said, is such a good cardio workout. And I feel like what's cool about you too is that you've done a lot of musical dance singing roles and you have to have such an insane amount of stamina in order to do that. What do you do to get ready for a role? Is there a routine that you strictly follow, or is it more the dance rehearsals that get you ready to go? Because it is hard being able to sing and dance at the same time.
100%. Yeah. I think, especially for stuff like zombies, we have so much rehearsal time.
Yeah.
We have a month before we start shooting and we're just doing dancing all the time. So I think you get into the routine of ooh, okay, I'm out of shape. Let's get into it. So you have kind of a month to prepare. And on the dancing days, there's specific days where you're oh, we're just shooting musical today. And then it's oh, okay, cool. And then you can kind of in the morning prepare okay, today I'm going to be doing it. So how do I rest? How do I eat properly? But yeah, now moving into the music world, I feel I've just been trying to sing as much as possible, terribly singing on the treadmill and trying to build up stamina in that way. But it is really difficult. Yeah.
I love knowing, and ever since I started the Running Interview Show and we interview a lot of artists, it's so fun knowing that you guys do train a lot while singing on the treadmill.
Yeah.
The first time I heard about that was actually before kind of the news came out that Taylor Swift does it, Yeah. I was interviewing Mary-Kate Morrissey, and she's the girl that plays Elphaba on Wicked.
Right. Yeah,
and she was saying she often trains like that because Wicked is the Gershwin Theater has a rake stage, which means it's kind of on an incline. So you have to have that extra level of breath control.
Yeah.
But
I can't imagine singing Elphaba songs every night. I can't. Even being suspended in the air, that must be so hard.
Yeah.
I can't fathom that.
Are you a Wicked fan?
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm a huge musical theater nerd. I loved Wicked, loved the movie. Yeah. I literally have a Rent quote on my bracelets. I'm pretty deep in it.
I love meeting kids that were into musical theater too, because I agree. I remember seeing Wicked.
Yes.
No way. No, well, I didn't do musical theater growing up.
Right. You just were a fan.
Yes. I did a couple school plays in middle school.
What?
But
what did you do?
I did how in middle school they would do random kind of hodgepodges of different.
Yeah. A recital thing.
Yes, exactly. A recital, or it would be bits of Annie and bits of all these different.
I did that too.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was cute.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always liked it. I think performing is so cool. But I mean, growing up, you were super into musical theater and performances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that that was what I was going to do, like, completely. I also was a huge fan of Disney Channel. So, like, as a really, like, young kid, I started, like, auditioning professionally when I was, like, 7 or 8.
Wow.
So
That's
really
so young.
young. Yeah. And a lot of it was for Broadway, but then it was always for Disney Channel, too. It was always, you know, kind of like generals for that world, because that was something that I was, like, such a huge fan of. But yeah, musical theater, I was like, oh yeah, Broadway's the dream. Like, that's what I'm going to do. And so, yeah. So I was like a huge musical theater nerd, and that's kind of all I listened to and what I loved. And then it kind of just like transitioned to TV and film when I was like 11 or 12. I just started auditioning for commercials and TV for, like, you know, like, why not? And then that kind of just opened another door. So yeah, it's crazy.
It's so wild. It's wild to know how young you were when you got into the industry.
Yeah.
Because it's like every kid's dream, right? That's interested in musical theater. What was your childhood like growing up? Like, I know you grew up in New Jersey and, you know, like, break it down. Were your parents into acting, or was this world new to them as well?
It was completely new to them.
Yeah.
I think my love for music definitely came from them. Like, they listen, like, there was always music playing in the house. It was never quiet. And they were huge concert goers.
Yeah.
So, like, I was always at concerts and music playing. So they're huge, like, music people, but, like, actual creatives, like, they were like jocks in high school and then kind of went into the corporate world. So they were not like creative like that, but music wise they were, if that makes sense. So, yeah, going into musical theater, and like, they put me into sports. I was terrible at all of them. Like, I like playing soccer. I did not want to run on the field. I just wanted to play goalie so that I didn't have to run. And I was doing like cartwheels and singing and like whatever. And they were like, oh, okay, maybe she should do something like more like musical, like theatery kind of thing. So then I went to like a musical theater school in Jersey called Annie's Playhouse. Shout out. And yeah, then that's when I started, but they had no idea. And like, even when like there was a workshop at the theater school that it was like a Broadway manager. And I just like sang in front of her just for whatever. And then when she was like, oh, like, we want to sign your daughter and she'll start auditioning in the city and da da da. Like, my parents had no idea what that meant.
Right.
And neither did I, because I was like 8. But yeah. And then that's like what moved me into the city and everything. But yeah, it was crazy. Yeah.
No, it is. And it's so wild how one interaction like that can change the trajectory of your life, right? Like, that woman noticing you really did transform your life, right? Because it's hard, especially having parents that don't know the industry. You know, it's hard to know, okay, like, how do we get her to audition for stuff, and what should she be doing if this is what she's interested in?
Right.
So that's so cool to know that.
Yeah, it is really cool. And they did the best job. I don't know how they navigated it the way they did, but they did a great job. So,
well, I feel like it was a good situation because you were getting casted for roles, right? And you very quickly started working, and that was kind of it. What was it like in those early days going to auditions in the city? Was it intimidating? Were you too young to really know if it was scary or not? You know, what was the vibe?
I was terrified. The first audition I ever did was an open call for Billy Elliot, but it was like just dance. And like, I was not a dancer at all. So like, I went in with all these girls from all over the country, and they were so good. And I just like had like a number on like my stomach, and I was just like, and like the first dish, I like got cut immediately because I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. So it was like, yeah, it was so nerve wracking because it was like just such a big pool of kids that all have the same dream. And it was just like really eye opening of like, whoa, like, this is not what I thought it was. But the first thing I ever did was an episode of Sesame Street where we taught kids how to say hands, head, and feet in Spanish. So
how do you say it in
we
Spanish?
were dancing. Manos, cabeza, pies. That's hands. Wait, hands, head, and feet. Right. And it was like Juanes was singing it. And so we were just like dancing in the background with like Elmo. So that was the first job I ever had.
Wow.
And that was really cool. Just like being on set and being like, wow, it's so cool. Yeah. And they filmed it in Queens. So shout out Queens. It was great.
That's amazing. I love knowing that you were on Sesame Street. What would you say was your breakout role?
Oh,
Was it zombies or?
I mean, I would say, yeah. Like a year before that, I was on American Housewife, which is like a sitcom for ABC. And so that was like the first, that's what moved me out to LA. And that was like, whoa, like it was like on a lot in LA. And I was like, it was so cool. And like, I had just turned 16. So it was just like, so wild and new. And then like while I was filming, I was auditioning for zombies, and then that kind of happened. So it kind of happened pretty fast,
right,
in that way. But before that, it was just really funny because like for 6 years before that, it was just like constant auditions. So I think a lot of people, like, I feel like a lot of times on social media, you see somebody kind of book something and then go from there, but you don't see everything else in the background. And like, it never happens that way. Like everybody is working so hard and like, but you only see like the good parts. So I just think that was kind of a tangent, but it's just really interesting that
it is. No, and I think too, like I do know how hard it is to get these roles, and it does make so much sense. Yeah, you audition for so much, and then it's like you kind of get that big break, and it's so exciting, and you're like, yes, like I'm what they were looking for. But what is it like dealing with rejection when you're going through all these auditions and you were so young? And you know, I'm sure it still happens, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, so much rejection. I feel like it definitely doesn't get any easier. I think you just learn how to deal with it more, take it less personally. It's really a lot easier said than done because, you know, you still take it personally, but you try not to, you know. I think, now it's kind of more like, okay, you know, I just didn't fit the role, or like I wasn't what they were looking for, and that's okay. Like just kind of rationalizing it that way. But as a kid, I think that's definitely where like a lot of times in my life, like if I feel like I'm like, you know, not good enough, or, you know, a lot of my insecurities, I feel like probably are rooted in like that rejection all the time. Cause you never feel like you're good enough in that way, especially being a young kid. Cause you're like, wait, why? Like, you know, so, I think that is like a really hard thing. I think everybody deals with that in their life, no matter what. But I think in this industry, it's really interesting. And you're also expected to be an adult at like 8 years old. So you're like on set working, and like everybody is working a 9 to 5, and all the adults have like families and they're going home to their kids, and you're just like goofing off on set. And then everyone is kind of like, no, like you need to be an adult kind of thing. It's really strange.
Yeah, it is a hard, it's a really hard dynamic. And I feel like it forces you to grow up so fast. Like on our run, we were talking about how, you know, it's so cool that you've worked with Disney and you're, you know, in Disney movies, like zombies. And it makes me think back to Hannah Montana. And we were talking about how growing up, like Hannah Montana, Wizards of Waverly Place, they were just our favorite shows to watch. And it's so weird to like think back on them and be like, Miley was so young when we were watching that, just like you were so young when you first started. Yeah. But at the same time, you know, growing up, you look up at them and you're like, they're so young, but they at the same time are so mature for their age.
Yes.
Like, did you feel like you had to grow up really quickly?
Definitely.
Yeah. What was that like?
It's crazy that like, when I saw Hannah Montana on tour at like Madison Square Garden, she was literally like 13, 14 years old. In my mind, she was like this like adult, like amazing. Like she was literally a kid. Like that's crazy to me. But because I was like 7, 8, like that was so old to me, you know, in like return. Yeah, it is crazy. And even on the first Zombies, like I can't believe that I was only 16. Like I felt so much more mature, and like I was like, I know everything, and like I'm so old and like whatever. And it's like I didn't know anything.
Right.
So it's really fun. I still don't know anything now.
No, and now it'd be like you see high schoolers and you're like, oh my God, they're so young.
I
like,
know.
It's weird. Yeah.
It's so weird. No, so I really did feel like I grew up pretty old. I think also just being in New York as well, like you kind of have to as well.
Absolutely. Kids in the city grow up fast, for sure.
Yeah. I think, but when I was younger, I think even being in this industry, and I think a lot of people can relate to this even if they're not, I really wanted to be old, like older. And so when adults were like, oh, you're so mature for your age, like that was the biggest compliment. And now I wish I could go back and like tell my 11-year-old self, like, just be a kid, like laugh a little, come on. Because I just wanted to be so adult and mature and like cool and with like the older kids. But I think I still was a kid for sure. And I had great kid experiences, but at the same time, like I didn't as well. And so that is really interesting to like grapple with. But being on the new Zombies movie, all the kids are like 14 to 18 years old. And so it's almost like I'm reliving like the first Zombies over again and seeing how young and excited they are. Like it was the craziest thing for like me and the older cast to like deal with like, wow, we are not that age anymore. Like we are like in our like early to mid 20s and like that's crazy.
It is. I feel like it's so fun though to be on that set and to be with kids that age and be able to kind of be
I loved it.
Right? You get to like be a mentor to them and a little bit of like the big sister role, and that's such a cool place to get to.
It is cool.
Right? Like what do you think was the biggest challenge when you were younger, just starting out, having gotten this big role? Like what was the hardest thing for you to overcome, that when you did overcome it, you were like, okay, damn, I can do anything now?
Yeah, I think when like the first like zombies came out, I don't think any of us really expected what was going to happen. I don't like even people at Disney, like it was such a niche, like it was like cheerleaders versus zombies. There's music. It was kind of just like, okay, like hopefully this does well, whatever. And then when it did, I just don't think we expected it to happen like so fast. And so I think just facing a lot, like just having a lot of eyes really fast and just facing, like just reading comments and, you know, all those things. Like I think overcoming that of like dealing with other people's opinions, like I think it really like stunted me for a while. And then it like kind of went into my social life. Like I just cared so much about what people thought all the time.
Right.
And I still do. I think you still have to in this industry at some point, you know, like if things do well and then they don't, you like want to follow that because you're like, okay, something is connecting, something's not. But I think to the point where it like starts like, you know, debilitating you is when you should be like, oh, okay, maybe I need to like, you know, figure something out. And I think I've, like what I said before, I was like, I'm trying not to care about what people think.
Now I get it. I love that for you. But it is so important. Like this industry is so hard in that sense. Yeah, especially, and people think that you don't see the comments or that you don't, because sometimes there's so many, like it's, you know, some people think that you don't notice, but it's like you notice the negative stuff so much more than the positive stuff.
Oh yeah. There could be like 1,000 positive comments and then one person can say something negative and it like ruins your day. Because I feel like in my head, I'm always like, and especially in this industry as well, you're constantly like, because of the rejection and everything, you're like, I'm not good enough. You have like this imposter syndrome of like, maybe I don't belong here. Maybe I'm not a good singer, whatever. And then if one person says that, you're like, oh, they got me. They found me out. Like I'm not, you know, but that's just not true. And people will just say stuff just to say it because it's all anonymous. Like you're never like, you know, so it's just kind of like, it is what it is. But I think that like not going on social media or like posting is important for like music and career, but like not looking at, you know, a lot of the stuff has been like the biggest lesson is to just like post and just like put it away.
No, that's such good advice. I feel like that I was actually just talking to a singer yesterday on the interview show. Her video will be posted next week. Rachel Platten. She's the singer of the fight song.
Oh my God.
And she's been in the industry for years.
Yes.
And she was saying the hardest thing is now adapting to social media, because when she first started out, social media wasn't really a thing in the way that it is now.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
I know you are launching music. Do you feel like social media is super important when you're putting out new things?
Yeah, I definitely think with music, it really is. Cause I think, at least me personally, like I find so much new music on like Instagram or TikTok and and I think kind of like posting is important.
Yeah.
And I definitely know that. And I definitely, you know, it's cool to post about stuff that you're proud of. But at the same time, I'm not a huge fan of social media. Cause like I feel like there's so many pros, but I think the cons are kind of just like, you know, just like scrolling and comparing yourself to other people and kind of just like wasting a lot of time scrolling. At least I do that. I'm just speaking personally from my side of things.
We all are chronically online.
Yeah.
No, but I get it.
And so, but I think for like work, and I think it is really important. And I think it makes people feel connected to you. And I think now I've just been trying to post stuff that I feel like is authentic to me and like trying not to be, it's so weird because like, I feel like social media is not very genuine in the way that you're like posting something, but it's all curated. So I'm trying to find a balance right now. I haven't figured it out yet, figuring it out now of like how to be more authentic and more myself. And just like not care about what people think. And And I feel like it's just really fun that way because it's like, oh, okay, like this is just me. And like, and I think people really connect to stuff that's authentic, you know?
Definitely. I think so too. I feel like it's so important on social media just to be posting content for your people. Cause at the end of the day, it's just like your close friend group on there, you know?
Exactly.
And not worry about the haters. Yeah.
But it's hard not to like curate stuff or like be like, oh, like I really like this photo, so I'm going to post it. But it's like, you know, yeah, it's hard not for everything to always look perfect. Like what your feed looks like and all that stuff. Like that always gets in my head. Why? I don't know. It's literally just Instagram. But like it like keeps me up at night.
Yes. Instagram is a different beast.
It is.
It really is. TikTok's more fun because it's like you can do whatever you want on there. It's basically a rant page.
Yes.
But
why is that?
I don't know.
When it comes to Instagram, like I open it up and I'm like, ooh, like, well, like, does this look okay? Like, I don't know why.
I don't know why either. I feel like Instagram historically has always felt like almost like a magazine of somebody's life in a way. And
like a Pinterest board.
Yeah. I don't know, but I'm not an aesthetic person, so I just do my thing on that app.
Amazing. Yeah. I'm gonna take after you.
Take after that.
Just do your thing, man.
Yeah, just be you. They'll love it. Let's talk about Disney princesses. Okay. So we kind of alluded to this on the run, but growing up, I know, you do a lot of stuff with Disney Channel. I feel like growing up, every little girl has a princess that they love, that they see themselves in. Is there a Disney princess that you love that you would want to maybe play in a movie? She's like, I can't say that.
Well, I mean, a movie that I really loved growing up was Tangled. So Rapunzel is one of my favorite princesses. And I also really love Elsa.
Yeah.
And I think Elsa would also be a character. I feel like Rapunzel and Elsa are two characters that I would love to play in some capacity somehow.
I love Elsa and Rapunzel. I could totally see that for you. You went from zombies to playing a role in the Winchester.
Yes. Yeah.
What is it like kind of switching genres? Is that a challenge to do or was it super fun for you?
It was so much fun. Yeah, I had the best time. It was really funny though, because one of the first episodes we did of Winchesters, we were like brutally murdering zombies. And I was like, wow, this is very different from something that I did before, where I was falling in love and singing with the zombies. So very different projects. But it was so much fun and it's really fun doing both. I think drama is something that I've always been really, not scared of, but I think comedy and theater, like that's like something I grew up in. And so drama has been like harder for me. So I've been working on that more. And it's honestly become like more of a passion these days of like figuring out like drama and like kind of the emotional stuff. 'Cause when I watch things, it's not necessary. I cannot watch like horror or like really sad movies. Like I have to be in a mood for that. But I'm so sensitive when it comes to like when I'm watching a movie, like it feels so real for me. So most of the time I'll do like animate like SpongeBob or like Bluey or like stuff. Cause I think about stuff way too much in my life anyways. So I like cartoons and happy movies. So drama has been something really cool to get into. So yeah, Winchesters was definitely very different, but also really fun.
Yeah, I feel like it is fun. It's also cool, like as you grow up to start playing like different types of roles and, throw yourself into different settings. And it was so cool to see you in the Winchester.
Yeah.
What is it like getting into character for that type of a role? What is your kind of getting into character process?
For that, I feel like it was a lot of like prep because the role that Addison in Zombies or like Taylor in American Housewife is pretty much just me, just with like, there's some differences, but whatever. But this character was so different. But the cool thing is in every character you play, you get to find similarities of of how they relate to you. And so I ended up relating to Mary a lot, but on paper, she was so different from me, like very dark and like, a strong leader and opinionated, and like that is just not me at all. So I think it was just, trying to make it as natural as possible. And so that took a little time at the beginning, but it was so worth it. It was so fun.
Yeah. No, I find that so interesting. Whenever I talk to actors, that is what they say. Like, you have to find the commonalities with yourself and that character. Or if you can't, you have to try your best to just understand that character as a person and how they would act.
Exactly. Yeah.
I find the whole thing so interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. Yeah. I feel like you always take a part of them with you no matter what.
Yeah.
And you like kind of always will have like how they think or feel like with you at some point. It's really weird. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like a really weird feeling.
Yeah. What part of Mary do you feel like you have taken with you? That reminds me of method acting. Like, I feel like a lot of people that method act kind of sometimes adopt certain traits.
I know.
Like Ariana Grande playing Glinda.
No, for real.
Her voice has changed. Yeah.
I know. And I think that happens a lot with like creatives. Like you kind of just like take on, or like when it's like those TikToks where it's like me walking out of a movie theater with my new personality. Like, you know, when you watch a movie, well, maybe, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but like you walk out of a movie theater and you like see like a character and you think they're so cool or whatever. And you walk out and you're like, this is my new character. When I was younger, I used to do that all the time.
Like, I think that's what makes you an actress.
Yeah.
No, seriously.
Like I remember walking out of the first Avengers movie and I like thought I was Black Widow. And like for the rest of the night, I was walking around and I was like,
Wait,
that's something I've always done.
I could totally see you casted for a Marvel type of movie.
Oh my God, that'd be so incredible.
Really? Would that be a dream for you? Yeah, that'd be a cool role.
Yes. Superhero anything would be so cool, especially like that whole Marvel fate. Like that was my whole upbringing. I loved it so much. I recently just rewatched all of them in chronological order. So good. So good.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful to have grown up with all of those movies. So
well,
yeah,
the Marvel stuff is so interesting too, because it was funny because we were at the Captain America. I had ran with Danny Ramirez, and then we went after the run to the premiere.
Oh my God.
And it was so random because our Uber driver that picked us up, happened to be this like big Marvel fan, and I don't know that much about Marvel.
Yeah.
And he was saying how it's like when you get casted for a Marvel movie, you really become a part of the Marvel universe in a way, and your character evolves.
Yeah.
And I never knew that. I was like, it's so interesting. So now that Anthony Mackie is Captain America, it's a very big deal for it's so cool. Like, I had no idea.
No, yeah, it's so cool. I feel like in Marvel and also in DC, like they introduce characters like 2-3 movies ahead, and they're like in a couple scenes, and then they like it like all intertwines together, and like everything is for a reason. So that, it's so cool. And and Anthony Mackie has been a part of the universe for oh my God, so long. Like so it's so cool to see like where his character has progressed, and Marvel is really cool for that.
I need to go down a deep dive of Marvel because what the hell?
I was like start from like in chronological order, like and watch all of them. It's so good. It's really, really well done.
Maybe I'll switch from White Lotus to some Marvel.
We were talking about White Lotus before.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about singing.
Okay.
So you just released a new single. How was the release? How are you feeling about it? Are you excited?
Good. Yeah, I'm really excited. I just released a new song, Picky, like last week, and it's doing like, I'm really happy with it. I think, I started releasing music in November of February. Wait, in like 2024, like top of 2024.
It's kind of recent.
Yeah, super recent.
Wow.
It's been a long journey. I feel like I've always been like writing music and loving songwriting and everything since I was younger. But because I was a theater kid, I thought you just like perform on stage and that was kind of it.
Yeah.
My imagination kind of didn't expand there. I didn't realize that you could like, learn how to do it on like produce on your computer or go into a recording studio. Like I really did not know that world at all or how it worked. And so when I was working on Zombies, like there's a producer of every song. And so I just started working with one of the producers and kind of just starting music from there. But it's just been a really long journey because a lot of the music I've released, even though I love it so much, it's always been kind of in, like it never was through Disney, but it was always like keeping the Disney Channel audience in mind and it being like geared towards the younger audience. And like, honestly, at the time when I was younger, like my music taste is so eclectic and all over the place. Like when I was 18, I wanted to do like pure R&B and like that was like my vibe, which is like not necessarily what I wanted, but I just, as a kid, like you're just figuring out yourself and who you want to be. And I had no idea what I wanted my music to sound like. It was more just like the artists that I loved. I just wanted to be like them. And so now I feel like I finally figured out like who I am or starting to, and kind of like blending all of my influences in kind of like one sound. So anyways, long story short, I've started releasing music because I feel like I'm at a good place now to like actually be like 100% proud of the stuff that I'm releasing. And yeah, so it's all working towards an EP in the spring, which is really fun. And yeah, I'm really excited about it. Like I just feel like what we were talking about earlier with social media, like it feels really authentic and just me. And I think that's why I'm so proud of it, because it's just me. So
exactly. It's different than playing a part where you're playing a character. It's like you are showcasing yourself and what you love. How would you describe your sound and who are your influences?
Oh, goodness. There's so many influences. I feel like right now, like In My Bag and Picky, and then the next one coming out as well, is very inspired by like early 2000s, like R&B and hip hop. It's still very pop. I feel like the melodies are very poppy because I also love pop as well. But it's, really inspired by that kind of like Y2K era. Cause that's, I feel like the late or just all of 90s, like early 2000s is like the golden age of R&B and hip hop. So yeah, it's really cool. And then I also love yacht rock. So a lot of the songs upcoming have a lot of like yacht rock influences.
What is yacht rock? Why do I not know what that is?
It's like, it's like 80, like 80s synths, like kind of like what would be like a yacht rock song? Like Africa by Toto.
I don't know. Oh my God, yes. Yes.
Or like,
oh, that's so cool.
You can do magic. Or like Steely Dan vibes. Like it's all very like, it's basically rock that you'd play on a yacht in the middle of the ocean. And you're just kind of like...
Okay, now I'm getting the Bob Marley shirt.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, I mean, my number one influence is Bob Marley.
I love that.
None of my songs really have like reggae influence in them.
Yeah.
But his like just life philosophy, just like struggling with a lot of anxiety growing up, he was like the only music, and like I would watch his interviews, and like he's like the only thing that would like help me get through just a lot of like hard times growing up as a kid. Cause like everything he says is just that everything's gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be all right. So I was like, you're right, Bob.
I need to go back and watch his interviews because I feel like I've never seen a Bob Marley interview.
Yeah.
And I could imagine how that's calming when you're feeling anxious about something, because I feel like he was so successful and just had this really calm demeanor to him that was like, it's all good.
Oh yeah. No, it's incredible. Like I feel like reggae is like the most amazing, and also a lot of like island reggae I listen to, like Polynesian reggae. So incredible, and like it just instantly soothes you and calms you down and like puts you at ease, especially if you're feeling stressed or anything like that. So like I think reggae is a huge part of my life in that way, because it just really helps with just, you know, my stress levels. So
That's so cool.
yeah.
I feel like I know you're an East Coast girl growing up, but being in LA, we're here for, we've been here for the past month. We're going to be here for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And I feel like every time I come here from New York, I instantly feel calmer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like having grown up in New York, do you feel like now living in LA is good for the mental?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always I feel like when I first moved here for the first couple of years, I was like, I need to get back home. And every time I met somebody, like my whole personality was like, yeah, I'm from New York. Like, that'd be one of the first things. It's so obnoxious. Oh my God. So like, I always was like, New York is really the best. Now, when I go to New York, I miss LA. I feel like that's that means that LA is my home as well now, because I kind of miss both wherever I'm at. I always miss New York, but like now I miss both. So I'm kind of happy wherever, but my blood has thinned so much whenever I go back to New York and it's cold. I feel so weak because I've gotten so used to this amazing weather.
No, it's literally perfect here, guys.
You
LA
can't
is
beat the
perfect.
weather here.
No.
And so I've definitely gotten used to that. There's pros and cons to both, but I definitely feel a lot more relaxed in my suburban neighborhood in LA for sure.
Yeah, it's refreshing being in a suburban neighborhood in a city. I feel like that's the thing that makes LA so cool, is it feels very grounding, which we all need, especially in this crazy industry.
It's true.
Let's talk about this. You've been working in the industry since you were a teenager. So if you could go back and give your teenage self one piece of advice for all the girls and guys listening, what would it be?
I think with the like industry wise, I think if you want to be in this industry and you feel really passionate about it, I feel like making sure that you are really into it and passionate about it, and it's kind of like for the right reason. It's for you, and it's for like your creativity and what you want to put out in the world, and not for maybe like, you know, more superficial reasons. Cause I feel like I had to figure that out for myself. I was like, do I actually want to do this? Or like, why am I doing this? And I think in realizing of like, oh no, I actually want to do, it's just such a tough industry and it's really hard. And I feel like if it's something you're really passionate about though, then I would say stick with it. Cause it takes a while, but it's so worth it in the end. But make sure that you really, really love it and want to do it for your soul and heart. And then kind of what we were saying before, I feel like just teenagers in general that are, you know, in middle school, high school is stop growing up. I feel like, you know, take your time and enjoy what age you're at. At least I wish I could tell myself that. Because I feel like right now, and this is an overgeneralization, but I feel like right now it kind of goes from like toddler to like teenager. There's no like tweens anymore. And I'm like, just be a tween. Just like, like wear weird stuff and do terrible makeup and, you know, like wear like funky clips in your, like I had the craziest awkward phase. And I think that's so okay. And like, I felt like I had to grow up really fast. And like, I don't think you have to, because you have so much time. And now that I'm still so young, and I feel like I've lived so many lives, and I just wish that I, you know, stayed like true to myself and my age and didn't try to be something that I was not. So just be authentic to you. That's what I'm trying to do. So.
Yeah. I feel like so many people are going to be like, Meg, you did not have an awkward phase.
Oh,
like,
let me tell you, I did. Let me tell you.
I always feel that way though with people that get casted so young for these things. Like you guys are always so beautiful and look so good. It's like hard to imagine. It's hard to imagine like Miley Cyrus with an awkward phase, you know? I always think about that, but like she would say I had an awkward phase. So
I know, but in my mind, I would be like, absolutely not. I feel like even just on American Housewife, I went from 16 to 21 and like I went through so like like people will send me clips from it or like my parents will be watching or whatever and I see it, I'm like, oh dear God. I was like, that was not me. But like people might not like think like that because it's not you. So like when you see somebody else, you're easily like, oh my God, no, you look amazing. Yeah. But in my world, I was like, that was awful, you know?
No, it's so weird going back and looking at old photos and even from a year ago. Like it's weird looking at how much you evolve in a year.
I know, it's crazy. Even in like a week. I always say that I'm like, I'm not even the same person I was like 2 weeks ago.
No.
Let alone a year ago.
Yeah, I feel that.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, we're changing a lot. 24, you're 24.
Yes,
24 is a big age.
It is.
Yeah. 24 to 25, your prefrontal cortex or whatever it is, your brain fully develops.
Yes. Oh yeah. I feel it. I feel it developing slowly but surely. But yeah, no, these past couple of years have just been so wild. And I feel like, I think it's okay to like change and, you know, and like, that's like, we're always changing and it's okay.
As you should. As you should. Okay. As we finish up the podcast, I want you to just tell us what are some of the things that you're super excited about, that you're working on, that you want everybody to know about or look forward to knowing about.
I'm so excited for my new music to come out. I feel like I've been working so hard on it and I feel really happy about it. And so, you know, this spring will be like the EP coming out and then more music after that. So I'm really excited about that. And then the only thing I can really talk about is Zombies 4, which I still can't even really talk about that, but it is coming out this year. And that's all I can say. So I'm really, really excited for that.
Are you allowed to say where you guys filmed?
Yes. Yeah. We filmed in New Zealand, which was so cool. And also something I'm looking forward to is telling everybody to go to New Zealand if you can, if you have the opportunity to. People in America, I know it's so far away, but it's the most magical place in the entire world. So
it's so cool.
I love if you can.
Yeah. Everybody go to New Zealand.
Go to New Zealand. Have so much fun.
Have so much fun. Tag Meg in all your pictures so that she knows that you're there. Thank you guys so much for watching today's episode with Meg. Meg, you're amazing.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for running with me and sitting down and chatting. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you.
Make sure you subscribe and hit that bell notification to see what we post next. Bye.